Have you ever felt that devastating sensation of sending a message and seeing only the void on the other side? The seen receipt that never turns into a reply. The weight that erodes your confidence. The doubt if you did something wrong. What if I told you there's a way to completely flip this game? A strategy so subtle and powerful that it will make her not only respond to your messages, but be the one to seek you out first, begging for your attention, asking to see you, wanting to know where you are and who you're with. Sounds impossible, doesn't it? But that's exactly what I'm about to show you now. A silent strategy that will transform you from hunter to hunted, from pursuer to pursued, and best of all, without having to pretend to be someone you're not, without cheap games, without manipulation, just by changing small details in how you act and position yourself in the world. Get ready, because what comes next could completely change your love life. First, let's talk about the biggest mistake almost all men make. It's the mistake of total availability. You meet an interesting woman and immediately reorganize your entire life around her. You cancel plans to see her. You reply to messages in a matter of seconds. You keep checking your phone every 5 minutes, waiting for a notification from her. You stop everything you're doing when she appears. And you think this shows interest and dedication. But in reality, you're communicating something completely different. You're saying your life is empty, that you have nothing important going on, that she's the only interesting thing in your existence. And that, my friend, is the opposite of attractive. Think with me. When was the last time you truly valued something that was always available? That friend who's always up for anything. That restaurant that never has a wait. That product that's always on sale. The truth is, our brains are wired to value scarcity, to desire what's hard to get, to chase what might slip away. And when you're always available, you're communicating abundance. But the wrong kind of abundance. Abundance of empty time, of lack of purpose, of emotional neediness. The silent strategy begins right here, in rebuilding your relationship with time and availability. I'm not telling you to ignore or be rude. I'm talking about something much deeper and more transformative. I'm talking about building a life so rich and interesting that your availability naturally becomes scarce, because you genuinely have important things to do, projects that demand your attention, people who depend on you, goals you need to achieve. When you have a full life, your energy changes. Your presence gains weight. Your words gain value, and women notice this instantly. They have a natural radar for detecting men with purpose versus men who are just floating through life. And believe me, they will always choose the former. Now let me tell you a real story that perfectly illustrates this concept. A friend of mine, Ryan, was always the type of guy who replied to messages instantly. He was always free to go out, always available to chat. And he used to complain that women would lose interest in him after a few weeks, until one day he decided to change. He started a personal project to create an app. He began hitting the gym religiously. He enrolled in a language course. Suddenly, he no longer had time to be on his phone all day. Sometimes it took him hours to reply to messages. He had to reschedule dates because he had commitments. And you know what happened? The same women who used to disappear started seeking him out more, questioning where he was, showing jealousy when he mentioned other commitments, competing for his attention without him doing absolutely anything besides living his life. Second crucial point of the silent strategy, the art of creating mystery without lying. Most men have this compulsion to tell everything about their lives. They think total transparency is synonymous with honesty and trust, but there's a huge difference between being honest and being an open book. When you tell every detail of your life, you kill curiosity, and curiosity is the fuel of attraction. Think about the TV series that hooked you the most. Were they the ones that gave you all the answers in the first episode, or the ones that created questions and revealed the answers little by little? The human brain is addicted to completing patterns, to filling in gaps, to discovering what's hidden. When you become a walking mystery, you activate this powerful mechanism in her mind. But pay attention. Creating mystery doesn't mean inventing stories or pretending to be someone you're not. It simply means not handing everything over on a silver platter. When she asks what you did today, you don't need to give a detailed report. A simple, "I had a productive day" already creates more interest than telling her you went to the grocery store, bought bread, had coffee, watched Netflix, and napped on the couch. When she asks about your past, don't dump your entire life story in one conversation. Reveal it little by little. Let her work to get to know you. Every question she asks is an emotional investment, and the more she invests, the more committed she becomes. Like this video now, if you're finding this information valuable, your support helps the channel grow and reach more people who need this message. Third fundamental element, the power of divided focus. This is one of the most counterintuitive aspects of attraction, but also one of the most powerful. When you're talking to an interesting woman, your natural instinct is to give her 100% of your attention. Maintain intense eye contact. Turn your body completely towards her. Respond immediately to everything she says. But this communicates desperation. It communicates that she's the most important thing happening in your life at that moment. And while that might seem flattering, on the surface, deep down, it creates discomfort. Because it puts too much pressure on the interaction. It makes her feel like she's in a job interview, as if your every word is being analyzed and judged. Divided focus works like this. While talking to her, you keep part of your attention on other things. It could be observing the environment, occasionally checking your phone, greeting people passing by, taking small pauses to think. This communicates that you're present, but not desperate, interested, but not obsessed, available, but not needy. It's a delicate but extremely powerful balance, because it allows her to relax, for the conversation to flow naturally, for her to feel that she can be herself without the pressure of matching an exaggerated intensity. I'll share a specific technique that works very well. When you're on a date or having an important conversation, place your phone face down on the table, not to be messing with it all the time, but so that occasionally when it vibrates you can take a quick glance and then return to the conversation. This communicates that you have a life happening, that other people need you, that your time is valuable, and paradoxically, it makes her value the moments when you are fully present even more, because they become special. They become conscious choices, not default behavior. Fourth crucial aspect of the silent strategy, the construction of indirect value. Most men try to impress women by talking directly about their achievements, telling them about their important job, their new car, their incredible trips, their ambitious projects. But this sounds like an advertisement, as if you're trying to sell yourself, and no one likes to feel like they're the target of a marketing campaign. Indirect value works completely differently. You let your actions and choices communicate your worth, without needing to verbalize anything. For example, instead of saying you're disciplined and focused, you simply keep your commitments. When you make a plan, you follow through. When you promise to call, you call. When you have a schedule for something, you respect it. Instead of talking about your active social life, you naturally mention things you're doing with other people. Not as if you're bragging, but as a natural part of the conversation. "Oh yeah, that movie. I saw it with some friends last week. Really good." Instead of talking about your ambitions, you demonstrate them through your choices. The book you're reading, the course you're taking, the project you're developing. All of this communicates far more than words ever could. Comment below which of these strategies resonated with you the most. I want to know which one you'll apply first. Fifth transformative element, the principle of inverted reciprocity. Normally in romantic interactions, men give much more than they receive. More attention, more effort, more emotional investment, more availability. And they think this will generate reciprocity. That if they give enough, they'll receive back. But what happens is exactly the opposite. The more you give without receiving, the more your perceived value decreases. Because you're communicating that your time, energy, and attention aren't worth much. Otherwise, you wouldn't distribute them so easily. Inverted reciprocity works by establishing a pattern where she needs to invest to receive. I'm not talking about being stingy or calculating. I'm talking about valuing what you have to offer. If she wants your company on a date, let her suggest something too. If she wants to talk, let her initiate conversation too. If she wants your attention, let her earn it too. This creates a completely different dynamic, where she feels like an active participant, not just a passive recipient. where she feels like she's earning something valuable, not just receiving free attention. A practical example, many men keep sending good morning, good afternoon, good night messages every day. They think they're being thoughtful and caring, but they're just creating a predictable and valueless routine. Now imagine if you only sent those messages when she showed reciprocity, when she initiated conversations, when she showed genuine interest. Suddenly, those simple messages gain weight. They become rewards. They become something she wants to receive and works to deserve. Sixth fundamental point: strategic emotional management. This is perhaps the most challenging aspect of the silent strategy because it goes against our most basic instincts. When we're interested in someone, we want to show it. We want the person to know. We want to express our feelings, but uncontrolled emotions are like fire. They can warm or they can burn everything down. Strategic emotional management doesn't mean being cold or distant. It means having control over when, how, and how much you reveal. Think about the best love stories in cinema. Do the couple fall in love at first sight and live happily ever after? No. There's always tension, uncertainty, moments of closeness followed by distance, gradual revelations, progressive conquests. That's what keeps the audience engaged, and that's what keeps attraction alive in real life. When you dump all your emotions at once, you kill the story, you end the suspense, you remove the challenge, and you transform something that could be epic into something common and predictable. The technique here is simple, but requires discipline. Always reveal a little less than you feel. If you're very interested, show moderate interest. If you're in love, show strong attraction. If you're thinking about her all day, mention that you remembered her at a specific moment. This keeps her always wanting more, always wondering what you truly feel, always working to win more of your approval and affection. And paradoxically, the more she works for it, the more emotionally invested she herself becomes. Seventh element of the strategy: the silent magnetic presence. There's a huge difference between being physically present and being truly present. Most men, when they're with an interesting woman, get so nervous or anxious that their mind wanders. They keep thinking about what to say next, worried about the impression they're making, planning their next moves, and this creates a scattered and unattractive energy. The silent magnetic presence is the opposite of that. It's being so centered and comfortable with yourself that you can simply be there, without rush, without anxiety, without the need to fill every silence. Subscribe to the channel now and hit the notification bell so you don't miss the next videos with even more powerful strategies. This presence communicates confidence on a level that words never could, because it shows that you're comfortable with who you are, that you don't need to perform or impress, that your simple presence is enough. And that's incredibly attractive, because most people live in a constant state of social anxiety, always worried about judgments, always trying to be accepted. When you demonstrate this natural calm, you become a safe haven, a space where she can relax and be herself too. To develop this presence, practice meditation, even if it's just 10 minutes a day. Learn to be comfortable with silence, to observe without judging, to breathe deeply when you feel anxiety. With time, this becomes natural, and you start to emanate an energy that naturally attracts people, effortlessly, without techniques, just by being a centered and present version of yourself. Eighth transformative aspect: the non-pursuit paradigm. This is one of the most liberating concepts you'll learn, the idea that you don't need to chase anyone, that the right people will naturally gravitate towards you when you're living your best life. This doesn't mean being passive or waiting for things to fall from the sky. It means shifting the focus from pursuing to attracting, from chasing after to becoming someone worth chasing after. When you stop chasing, something magical happens. You reclaim all the time and energy you used to spend running after others, and you can invest that in yourself, in your projects, in your passions, in your growth. And ironically, this makes you far more attractive than any pickup technique ever could, because you're communicating real abundance. Not the false abundance of someone who pretends not to care, but the genuine abundance of someone who has so much going on in their life that they don't have time to waste on those who don't show reciprocal interest. I'll give you a practical example of how this works. Instead of constantly sending messages trying to set up dates, you simply share your life. Post a photo doing something interesting. Share an achievement. Show that you're having fun, without tagging anyone, without directing it at anyone specific. Just living. And let whoever is interested come to you. Let them show curiosity. Let them start a conversation, because when someone comes, to you the frame is already established. She's investing, she's showing interest, she's pursuing, and that completely changes the dynamic of the interaction. Ninth essential point: strategic vulnerability. It might seem contradictory to talk about vulnerability in a strategy, about creating attraction through mystery and scarcity. But strategic vulnerability is completely different from emotional dumping. It's about choosing specific moments to reveal deeper aspects of who you are, in a calculated and impactful way. Creating connection without losing respect, generating intimacy without appearing needy. The key lies in timing and dosage. After establishing a solid foundation of attraction and respect, you can occasionally let your guard down, share a personal story, reveal a fear or insecurity, show a more human side, but always in a controlled way, always maintaining your dignity, always as someone who has overcome or is overcoming, never as a victim. This creates a deep emotional connection because it shows that you trust her enough to be vulnerable, but it also shows that you are strong enough to handle your vulnerabilities. For example, instead of talking about how your ex hurt you and how you suffered, you can mention how that experience taught you to value your time more and choose people better. Instead of complaining about difficulties at work, you can share how you're overcoming a specific challenge. Strategic vulnerability always has an arc. It starts with a challenge, goes through growth, and ends with learning or overcoming. This humanizes you without diminishing you. It brings you closer without weakening you. 10th element of the silent strategy: progressive investment. This is the concept that ties everything together and creates increasing momentum in attraction. The idea is simple but powerful. You only increase your investment to the extent that she increases hers. If she sends short messages, you send short messages. If she starts sending longer and more elaborate messages, you gradually do the same. If she suggests coffee, you accept. If she suggests dinner, you consider. Always maintaining a balance where she is investing equally or slightly more than you. This creates an upward spiral of mutual investment, where her every small step is rewarded with proportional reciprocity, where she feels she's earning your attention and affection through her effort. Where the relationship is built on solid foundations of mutual investment, not unilateral pursuit. It's a subtle but extremely effective game, because it respects the natural psychology of attraction, where we value what we earn more than what we receive for free. Leave in the comments which insight impacted you the most. I want to create more content about the points you most want to delve deeper into. Now I'm going to reveal the final secret that transforms this entire strategy from our technique into a lifestyle, the concept of emotional self-sufficiency. This is the foundation upon which everything else is built. When you are emotionally self-sufficient, you don't need external validation to feel complete. You don't need female attention to feel like a man. You don't need a relationship to feel loved. You generate these feelings internally, through your achievements, your passions, your purposes. And when you reach this state, something extraordinary happens. You stop repelling and start attracting, because neediness is the biggest repellent there is, and self-sufficiency is the biggest attractor. People want to be around those who are comfortable with themselves. They want to be part of the life of someone who already has an interesting life. They want to be chosen by someone who has options, not by someone who is desperate. Emotional self-sufficiency doesn't mean not wanting relationships. It means not needing them to be happy. And, paradoxically, when you don't need them, that's when they appear the most. To develop this, you need to have multiple sources of satisfaction, hobbies that challenge you, projects that motivate you, friendships that support you, goals that inspire you, achievements that make you proud. When your life is full of these sources of satisfaction, female validation becomes just a bonus, something nice to have but not essential. And this completely changes your energy. your presence, your way of interacting. You stop chasing and start selecting. You stop begging for attention and start distributing yours wisely. And here's the big truth few men understand. When you implement all these elements of the silent strategy, you're not just changing how you interact with women. You're changing who you are as a man. You're evolving into a higher version of yourself, more centered, more confident, more valuable. And this doesn't just attract messages begging for your attention, it attracts opportunities in all areas of life. In work, in friendships, in business, because the principles of value, scarcity, and attraction work universally. So yes, she will message you begging. She'll want to know where you are, who you're with, what you're doing. She'll compete for your attention, fight for your time, value your presence. But that will only be a consequence. The real prize is who you become in the process. A man with purpose, with value, with options, with the power of choice. A man who doesn't chase but attracts, who doesn't beg but selects, who doesn't despair but trusts. That is the power of the silent strategy. If this content made sense to you, share it with that friend who needs to hear this. Give a like to support the channel. And comment your biggest question about attraction, and I'll answer it in the next videos. The change starts now. The choice is yours. You can keep doing what you've always done and getting the same results. Or you can implement the silent strategy and completely transform your reality. The silence is calling. The question is, are you ready to answer?